stuck? Adapt or stay stuck? Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 140 of our Supersize You annual challenge. Today we're talking about when we get stuck, why we get stuck, and what we can do about it. Have you ever gotten stuck? I laughed when I thought about this topic today because I can go back and look at, for example, my lifeline and see the places where things happened in my life that helped to get me unstuck. Even if I thought they were negative and the end of the world at the time, they made me stop, pay attention to what was going on around me, the results I was getting. And if it wasn't what I wanted, I knew that I was going to have to change. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to realize, is that I know in my businesses, every time there's a problem or a challenge, I realize that somehow I am adding to the negativity, and that's that being a challenge means I'm the bottleneck. I'm getting in the way of progress sometimes, when of course my intention is just the opposite. Well, today our topic is building mental flexibility. Why do we want mental flexibility? I'll tell you, for one, if we expect things to always go our way and the way we think they should, we are opening ourselves up for a whole lot of unnecessary suffering, a whole lot of more challenges than we want to come into our life, right? We all thrive on a little bit of challenge and a little bit of change. But when massive things happen, and I think the biggest example that all of us can absolutely possibly relate to is the COVID pandemic. Whenever I'm trying to think of, am I behaving in the way I want to? Am I thinking in the way I want to? Since we're talking about mental health and well-being this month, I go back to what happened in 2020, and I think about how I responded, how I reacted, what I did in different situations, because that was a time where everything blew up for almost all of us. Either you were at work all the time because you were in an essential industry and you were going 100 miles an hour and trying to figure out how to keep safe while doing that, or you're at home in an absolutely positively shut down mode that you'd probably never experienced in your life, unless, of course, you take a vacation, you have a staycation, and you stay at home for vacation or something. And it caused all of us, it caused a whole lot of different things if we want to look at the negative, but it also gave us an opportunity to do things that we'd never done before. It gave us an opportunity to grow and expand and try out new things and be flexible with our thinking and this is the way I've always done it type of mentality. I find that if we are open to and flexible to other possibilities, all of a sudden we start to see the possibilities that have been right in front of our face all along, but we were too busy running through our lives to even see them. So, mental rigidity, thinking that everything has to be our way or the highway, causes absolute positive unnecessary suffering. Because if we define something as it has to be this way or it's wrong, anytime something doesn't go the way you expect it to, you're judging that as wrong. And judgment, to me, is a low vibration, negative energy, right? It's a negative feeling. I think judgment is not a great feeling. I didn't used to think that. Before I had a sudden cardiac arrest, I was very judgmental. Of course, I didn't realize I was very judgmental, but I was very judgmental. Looking back now and thinking about some situations that I'd been in, oh my gosh, right? And then who am I to judge? Because we're all human, we're not perfect. And so following that event, I changed drastically in terms of you do you, I'll do me. We all get to do what we want as long as it doesn't hurt other people. And especially ourselves, right? I think that we probably are the most judgmental and the hardest on ourselves of any other people. And that goes both ways. There are people that are just plain narcissistic or don't care about anybody but themselves, or entitled, and they're more judgmental on other people than they are on themselves because they do not have the ability to be self-reflective or see themselves even, which is a very strong form of mental rigidity. Just means being stuck in your own loop, right? Stuck in your own mental loop. Anybody ever done that? Been there? I think almost everybody has. I know I spent in different areas and aspects of our life, we allow ourselves to be stuck longer than others. I was stuck in a relationship for a quarter century that I knew was bad for me before I even entered into it. And it's hard to not beat myself up over that. But I've learned that I'm never going to let it go if I don't realize that, yes, that was a choice I made because I thought it was the best choice for me at the time. And only afterwards, because only ever after we make a decision do we find out for sure what's going on. Have you ever taken a job for an organization you're super duper excited about, and then you get in there and you start working with the people and the culture and finding out how things really are inside versus how HR told you it was going to be when you were interviewing? I definitely have. I've actually left companies because of that, because I got in, started to understand what really was going on in that company, and it was a core values mismatch with me, and so sayonara. I can always find something else to do, right, and somewhere else to work. So flexibility allows us the opportunity to change our mind and to adapt and go with the flow of different situations. I say you go with the flow of situations that feel right to you or are in alignment. Do you like how I use air quotes with all the words that are in the popular terminology these days? I find myself super irritated with artificial intelligence in that people are not using their intelligence to apply it in their life in ways that enhances who they really are. They're just using it as a substitute for doing work in certain areas and aspects of their life. And that is a little adaptive, but it isn't very flexible and it isn't very smart because it adds to the noise in the world that is already way too noisy and just confuses people. That's a side note of one of my pet peeves these days. If we practice cognitive flexibility, meaning flexibility in our thinking and our analyzing and our looking at different situations before we respond and react. We talked about that yesterday and how our emotions can run amok and run away with us and cause us to make different choices or decisions that aren't necessarily in our best interests at the time. So, excuse me, strong opinions, loosely held, and I would say I am definitely one of those strong opinions people. Loosely held means I'm not 100% attached to it. I have this opinion. I know this is my belief right now, but if I get new information and I let new information in to understand something from a different point of view or to understand a bigger picture and the implications of it, I am more likely to be curious and flexible and change my mind. Guess what? We change our mind all the time. Sometimes we change our mind like I wonder if anybody's ever done a study on that. How many times a day we actually change our mind? Easy example. How often do you know what you're going to wear and absolutely wear that thing every single time, 100% of the time? I actually will lay out 5 possible outfits and have them to choose from every morning. And then sometimes I'll look at them and I'm like, I don't feel like wearing blue today. I'm going to wear something totally different and I'll just pick out a whole different outfit in my closet. We always have the ability and the option of changing our mind. And I don't think any other species has that capability. We are so lucky to have these incredible computer brains and thinking capability and all these tools in our capacity that we almost never even touch on or use. So what's our action item today? I'm pontificating. Do we know what pontificating means? Who uses that word besides my daughter and I? I don't know. I think the best way to talk about this topic and to get unstuck whenever we find ourselves stuck needing coffee is to ask ourselves questions, right? Or to take just a quiet minute. It doesn't even take 5 minutes. Take a quiet minute and just say, take a deep breath and just refocus and center and say, okay, how am I feeling right now? What's going on with me? Why am I feeling like I'm stuck? Because the truth is we're never ever stuck. I think a lot of times we get into this stuck feeling when we feel like we have to have all the answers before we take any action whatsoever. The truth is we only have to take one tiny step in the direction we want to go. And that often is enough to open up the floodgates to all the other things we need to do and we get unstuck and unoverwhelmed. I find I am most often stuck and I'll go in these little loops when I'm feeling overwhelmed. Overwhelmed because I'm saying yes to too many things. Overwhelmed because I'm saying yes to the wrong things that aren't in absolute alignment with my core values and goals and objectives. Or just because I'm at a low energy, low ebb, maybe I've got a cold or something. I don't know about you, but when you don't feel good, don't you feel more stuck and like it's harder to see the possibilities and be flexible? I do. We all do. So we have to learn about ourselves more than anything when it comes to growing and supersizing and becoming a better version of ourselves. It all starts with us, right? And once we own that and decide that, anything is possible. So today, action items, share in the comments below one time you had to pivot or do something different that turned out way better than you thought it would. Because guess what? I have gotten to the point where every time I open up and change and do something differently, it turns out amazingly well. Even the things that I think are really super hard and outside of my comfort zone, and I'm working on one of those projects right now. And it ends up being way better and way lighter than all the things we make up in our mind that are going to happen that absolutely never happen. I think of all the things that I don't really feel comfortable doing at first, the first time I did them, and then how after a few times, all of a sudden it became really, really easy because I made it my own. I was thinking of my granddaughter was super frustrated yesterday. She's 5 and she wanted to learn how to tie shoes so she could get tie shoes. And her dad was showing her how to tie his boots, his big work boots, because they're bigger and she could look at them in practice. And she tried once and got really, really frustrated because she couldn't do it the first time. How many of us get frustrated, can't do something the first time, and then we quit and never do it again? I'm sure there's people that are not going to admit that, but I guarantee I've done that. I can't think of a situation right now, but I guarantee I've tried something. It didn't work the way I wanted it to the first time, and then I just totally abandoned that. I can think of different marketing things I've done that with. I spent months creating my first webinar. Did that webinar, it bombed, like totally bombed, and I just abandoned it. Never did that one again. But then I did brush off my ego, and I created another one, and that one did really, really well. But it wasn't perfect the first time. I had to iterate or make changes to it to make it better, to make it speak to the people it was designed to speak to. So we all do that. But within like 5 minutes, she successfully did it and ran in and showed her dad that she had tied the boots, so now she could get tie shoes. I don't know about you, but my manifestations and my making things happen isn't usually in such a short period of time. So I thought that was fantastic. All right. So share in the comments below one time you had to pivot or make a change. I don't really love the word pivot. It got really popular in 2020 with the pandemic because everybody had to change and people don't like to change. So I don't know why. I love change. People don't like to change. Therefore, they have negative connotations with that word. So somebody decided, oh, we're not going to change. We're just going to pivot. We're going to do something slightly different. Oh, wow. New concept. All right. If I can help you in any way, ask. Otherwise, have an amazing day. And I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow for day 141 of our annual challenge. I don't even know what the topic is. I looked the night before at what I picked out. I planned it beginning of the year, all 365-day topics. And then I just look them up at night and I'm like, oh, this is what we're talking about today. I quick write some notes and then I hop on and I chat with you. That's my process. Super complicated, right? Really hard. All right. Have an amazing day and I'll, of course, see you tomorrow. Bye.